Boyfriend signs away. Parental rights. Before paternity test results. I'm a 42-year-old woman who recently ended a 4-year relationship with my 57-year-old boyfriend. We met while both going through divorces. His was finalized before mine, and we started dating about 6 months after my divorce was complete. We lived in different towns, so our relationship was somewhat long distance, and we'd sometimes go a couple of weeks without seeing each other. This arrangement worked for us, given our circumstances. He has 4 children, a 37-year-old son, a 35-year-old daughter, and 2 younger boys, a teenager and a preteen, and shares custody of the 2 youngest with his second ex-wife. I have 2 children, an 18-year-old son and a teenage daughter, whom I share with my ex-husband. Because of ongoing custody agreements and disputes with our exes, moving closer together never made sense. 8 months ago, I discovered I was pregnant. An unexpected shock, as my boyfriend had a vasectomy after his youngest son was born. Neither of us wanted more children, and at 41, I wasn't prepared for pregnancy. I didn't realize I was pregnant until I was nearly 5 months along, because my periods have been irregular for years due to weight loss, anemia, genetics, and age. When I told my boyfriend, his reaction was harsh. He accused me of cheating, broke up with me, and used hurtful words. His second marriage ended because his ex-wife cheated, so I can understand why he reacted emotionally. But his response was extreme. He refused to believe the baby was his, and ghosted me for the next 8 months, ignoring all attempts to communicate. I gave birth to twins 3 months ago. I don't need financial support, but I filed for child support to prompt a paternity test, hoping it would clarify things. A friend of his told me he took the test, but before the results came back, I had him served with papers to sign over his parental rights and relinquish all financial responsibility. I wasn't surprised when he signed them without hesitation. I'd been faithful, and he was the only person I'd been with, so I never doubted the twins were his. However, once the paternity test confirmed he was the father, his attitude changed dramatically. He started calling me incessantly, showing up at my house, and angrily demanding we get back together or that I move closer to him. He accused me of tricking him into signing away his rights and called me foolish for not considering reconciliation. Some of my friends and family think I was wrong to handle it this way, arguing I manipulated him. Others support me, pointing out that he accused me of cheating and abandoned me during my pregnancy. They believe he has no one to blame but himself. If the twins weren't his, the papers he signed would have been irrelevant, so his decision to sign without waiting for the results was his own. It seems like he's now facing pressure from his family and wants to save face. I don't believe I tricked him. There was no deception in presenting the papers. He made a choice as an adult. Still, I'm aware he might legally challenge the decision since it's recent. So, am I wrong for how I handled this? Opinions from others. Supporter. Why would you get back with someone who accused you of cheating? He's the one at fault. If the kids weren't his, the papers wouldn't have mattered. His family might be pressuring him, but he's the villain here. You didn't trick him. He knowingly signed away his rights. Critic. It's understandable that he thought you cheated, given his vasectomy and past trauma from his ex-wife's infidelity. Long-distance relationships and the uncertainty of paternity can make people react irrationally. He made a poor decision, but you're wrong for sending the papers just to avoid sharing custody. This could harm your twins by limiting their relationship with their father. Neutral. This is a mess. He didn't believe the babies were his, yet signed away his rights before the results. Now he's mad because they are his. He's responsible for his actions, and you're not obligated to reconcile. But filing the papers to avoid custody makes you partially at fault. Conflict over daughter's long-planned trip. I'm a parent facing a tough decision about my teenage daughter's travel plans. For years, my daughter and her friends have been planning a week-long trip to celebrate after their high school final exams, before they head to college. I've always promised her she could travel alone with her friends for this milestone. and I've been funding the trip along with the other girls' parents. We're all excited for them to have this experience. However, I recently learned that my sister is having her first child, my nephew, and she's invited me to spend a week with her partner, and the newborn. Unfortunately, her due date coincides with my daughter's trip. My sister lives in a rural area with poor cell reception, and I'd need to travel across the country to visit her. I'm uncomfortable with my daughter being away while I'm not at home, as I worry about emergencies. If she needed me and I couldn't receive her calls or get to her quickly, I'd feel helpless. Ideally, I'd stay home to be accessible if anything went wrong. Now, I'm considering withdrawing my daughter from the trip she's been looking forward to for years. My nephew will only be a newborn once, and my daughter has her whole life to travel. I'm leaning toward canceling her trip, but I'm stressed and want to ensure I'm not making a mistake that will hurt her. Opinions from others. Critic: you're wrong to cancel your daughter's trip. Poor reception at your sister's place means you wouldn't be reachable anyway, so your daughter would be miserable at home for no reason. She's a young adult, and you don't need to hover. Arrange a secondary emergency contact and let her go. Canceling a long-promised trip will breed resentment. Supporter: don't take this away from her. Visit your sister the following week. Your nephew isn't going anywhere. As a parent, I'd say canceling risks damaging your relationship with your daughter. She'll feel you're prioritizing your sister's child over her. Neutral: your sister inviting you right after giving birth is risky. She may not want visitors so soon. Stay home or reschedule your visit. Your daughter's trip is a milestone, and you've promised it for years. Don't let her down. Update: after hearing feedback, I realized canceling the trip would hurt my daughter. I'm still uneasy about not being home, but I've decided to visit my sister another time. My nephew will still be there, and I was wrong to prioritize him over my daughter. Thank you for helping me see this. Kicking out sister's family. After stepson's threats, I'm a woman who owns a large family home inherited from my father. 10 months ago, I took in my 22-year-old sister, her 50-year-old husband, their infant son, my nephew, and her husband's 20-year-old son from his previous marriage. My sister was the other woman during her husband's affair, which led to his divorce. His ex-wife won their house, and they needed a place to stay for 1 to 2 years until they could buy their own. I agreed because I love my nephew and didn't mind helping. My sister's husband paid rent on time, and his son was helpful around the house, so things were fine initially. For context, I work as an escort, a fact my sister has known and never commented on. I assumed her family didn't know until recently. The issue started with my sister's stepson, whom I'll call Aaron. His room was always messy, which I tolerated since it was his space. However, he began leaving food and drinks around, which I worried would attract pests, especially with a baby in the house. I politely asked him to clean up, and his father and my sister did too, but he ignored us. Frustrated, I warned him that if his room wasn't clean by Sunday, I'd hire someone to clean it and throw out anything left on the floor. He didn't take me seriously, so I followed through, instructing the cleaner to separate clothes and discard food and other items. When Aaron returned and saw his room, he was furious, claiming I had no right to touch his things and that I'd thrown out 60% of his clothes. He then threatened to expose my job as an escort, saying he'd found out and would send a video to my family to teach a witch how to behave. Shocked, I asked what he meant, and he insulted me further, comparing his messy room to mine. I immediately kicked him out. When my sister defended him and implied I brought this on myself, I evicted her, her husband, and their son as well. They couch-surfed until her husband found an apartment. Now, my sister threatens to tell everyone I was wrong for kicking them out. Opinions from others. Supporter: you're not wrong. Aaron was disrespectful and threatened you over your job, which is none of his business. You provided housing, and he was a guest. Your sister, who had an affair with a married man, has no right to judge you. Good for standing up for yourself. Change the locks and get a security system. Neutral. Aaron's behavior likely stems from his father's infidelity and his own issues, but that doesn't excuse him. Your sister's defense of him is concerning, and she may have shared your job details. You're better off without them in your home. Teen daughters struggle with overbearing mother. I'm a teenage girl dealing with my 40-year-old mother's lack of boundaries. She treats me differently than my 24-year-old brother, likely because he's male. She barges into my room. I'm not allowed a lock. Enters the bathroom while I'm showering. Wears my clothes because we're similar in size, and interrupts when I'm speaking to teachers, doctors, or strangers. She makes decisions for me, ignoring my preferences, claiming she knows me better. Recently, I've been experiencing health issues and suspect I might have PCOS. I wanted to see a doctor but didn't want my mom there, as she'd dominate the appointment and make it about herself. If I asked her to wait outside, she'd cause a scene. Last week, I confided in my brother and asked him to take me to the doctor. He agreed, picked me up from school, and accompanied me. The doctor ordered tests and prescribed birth control pills in the meantime. This morning, my mom barged into my room, saw the pill box, and exploded. I admitted I'd gone to the doctor with my brother, and she cried, saying I betrayed her and that a man had no business taking me. Her husband, not my or my brother's father, called me a spoiled witch, implied I was using the pills for other reasons, and grounded me. He banned me from dinner, ordered me to clean his car, and made me babysit his young daughter for 2 weeks. I'm considering calling my brother, but wonder if I'm wrong and should just accept the punishment. Opinions from others. Supporter. You're not wrong. Call your brother immediately. Your stepdad's punishments, like withholding food and demanding free labor, are abusive. Your mom's lack of boundaries is narcissistic, and they're punishing you for taking care of your health. Ask your brother if you can stay with him or contact your dad if he's around. Critic. Your parents are more concerned with control than your well-being. You have a right to health care without interference. If they push back, threaten to report their punishments like withholding food to authorities, get out of this toxic environment if possible. Misunderstanding with stepbrother's girlfriend. I'm a teenage girl whose mother passed away during childbirth. My dad married Mary when I was 3, and she had a son, Josh, who was 10. Josh and I bonded over losing a parent, and have always been close. When Josh got his driver's license, he started a tradition of taking me and his friends to the movies once a month. Last week, we planned a movie outing, but Josh couldn't pick me up due to work, so I arranged an Uber. 30 minutes before the movie, I got a text from Josh's phone canceling our plans. I didn't think much of it, but later Josh called. Confused, asking where I was. He hadn't sent the text. The next day, I received a call from an unknown number. A woman screamed at me, calling me names and accusing me of sleeping with a taken man. I hung up, assuming it was a wrong number, but she sent abusive texts. Yesterday, I visited Josh's apartment to retrieve a jacket. A woman cornered me in his bedroom, yelling that I had the nerve to show up. She followed me, continuing her insults, until I realized she was the one who'd called and texted. I read her messages aloud in front of Josh and his friends, who laughed at the absurdity. She was humiliated, and I left. Josh later said I was right, but thought reading the text was excessive and embarrassed her unnecessarily. Some of his friends texted me, saying I acted immaturely and should apologize. Now I'm second-guessing myself. Opinions from others. Supporter. You're not wrong. She sent abusive texts, used Josh's phone to cancel your plans, and attacked. You unprovoked. Reading her messages was self-defense, and she should be embarrassed for her actions. Josh should be angrier that she used his phone and targeted you, likely out of jealousy. You owe her no apology. Neutral. She was wrong to attack you, but reading the text publicly was a bit much. Still, she started the drama, and Josh's friends are wrong to call you immature when she instigated everything. Stand your ground. She needs to apologize.